I see this like guide to, if you want to live in Europe when your kids are little and you want to do it for 10 years, here's the combination of countries you can try with your current financial backpack, right? This is your financial backpack you've got on. If it kind of looks like this, that's kind of if I were to create a guide in 20 years so that people could do this more easily, that's kind of what I envision, which sounds really silly, but that's what I do for a living, is make guides for people to make it easier for them. But you're doing that custom for people, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. And I think, there really is something to, okay, you have young kids that are under 5 years old. Here's what you should think about, not just financially, sure, of course, but lifestyle wise, right?
Yep. Yep.
Are they going to go to daycare? Are there enough parks? Because these are things that we absolutely take for granted. There are assumptions in the back of our mind about what school looks like, what play looks like, right?
Yep.
So my
What
kids,
what bullying looks like.
absolutely, yeah, big
Yep.
time. We have a garden. We've had a garden or a yard for probably the best part of the last 5 years. My kids have gone out to play in the yard like less than a dozen times because they've grown up in a place where you socialize at the park. You
Mm-hmm.
don't go have a play date and go out into your backyard all the time. You
Yep.
would go, especially when they're younger, you go to the park. That's what socializing looks like.
Yep.
So, there's that shocked me. I just kept thinking over and over again, why do we even have that garden where I have to, take care of everything in it every weekend? But it's just that cultural adjustment, right? So I think there really is something to your kids are moving through different stages of life. Which country accommodates that? Right? And then how does that impact your finances? Because there are very low impact places that are really good for trying out. So
Mm-hmm.
France, Malta, they're usually really low impact places. If you're working in Italy, absolutely can be a really low impact place tax wise, where then you just get to try it out. You see if this lifestyle is for you. And it depends on what you're trying to what your relative comparison is. So what are you trying to get away from, in short, right?
That's
Is
what
it
that's what that's what I keep telling people. I'm like, do not run away from something. Run towards something.
Yeah. Well, the grass isn't always greener. Like,
No.
it's just different.
Yep.
So, the logistics and infrastructure might be different here in Europe. And that might drive you crazy. And you might not have even known that about your personality because you might not have confronted it before.
It's so true. It's so true. So the conviction of why you're going somewhere, that's a layer on top. So for me, it's like getting everything to work in concert is actually, it's like a little bit like building a custom life. Like if you compare it to building a custom home, you have to choose every single part of your life and help it work in concert. And if it's not, then you have to make big decisions, bigger than moving to another state in the US, or like it is a custom life you're building instead of a pre-built one where there's a lot of assumptions and a lot of things. So the country you're in, the passport situation, your financial situation, all of those things need to work in concert in a way that works for you. And like you said, it's impossible to Google this stuff. When you help people, so when you sit down with people, what does the first meeting with you look like? Because you guys are wealth managers, right? That's kind of what you're helping people do, but also you're strategizing with them what to do. I like to call it your financial backpack. I don't know why, because if you're in one country, it's like a tree with many roots. But when you're a globally mobile person, it turns into a backpack. And so you help them figure out what they're taking their tree and making it into something that's globally mobile, more globally mobile. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a big part of it. It's the first conversation really looks like, tell me what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. We're
Mhm.
trying to understand your motivation. A lot
Yep.
of it is just soft facts about, why are you moving to Europe? What's that look like to you? What's important about your move to you? Is it based on your values? Is it based on a sense of adventure? And then we start getting into your asset base. So that is that backpack, right? It's
Hmm.
because you are uprooting it. You're making it subject to taxation somewhere else, essentially. And so what you're trying to understand in the first call is really, how can we help you? How does our help or the work that we can do with you align with your goals and your values? And then, is there anything immediately that we can tell you about your situation that you need to be aware of in order to make the move successful? So, a great example is you might assume that, your income isn't taxable in Europe because all of your clients are in the US. And that's not true at all. Your income's almost always going to be taxable in Europe. That maybe there's a few exceptions, but so it's just, can we provide immediate value? Do we understand why you're moving? And how could we help you? How can we work together to get you to where you want to be? And some of it is a transformation exercise. So as we go through actually working with a client and taking them on board and saying, hey, you're moving to Portugal in 9 months, we look at what can we do before the move, right?
Hmm.
So what are
Yeah.
some really actionable planning strategies to alleviate your future tax burden after you move to Europe? Because typically, most European countries, you're going to suffer a higher tax burden than you would in the US. There's some exceptions there. And, if you're moving from California or New York, maybe it's more like for like than you'd imagine. But if you're moving from, a no income tax state, then yeah, you might be shocked by what your tax bill looks like.
Okay, that's this week's clip for our summer special. If you're new here or you've joined us recently and missed some of these earlier conversations, this series is for you. We're taking a little break from recording new episodes, but there are certain moments from past episodes we really wanted to share while we're away. If today's episode resonated, you can find the link to the full original episode and all related resources in the show notes below. Thanks so much for being here and letting House of Peregrine be part of your summer, no matter where in the world you're listening from.